Well, hello and welcome to our webinar on manufacturing careers. We want to thank the Dayton Region Manufacturers Association and the Ohio College Tech Prep programs for helping us get across the finish line on these webinars and helping us find professionals to assist. And today we're going to introduce you to a professional in the manufacturing business who's going to talk with us about a specific career in the manufacturing business. So the person we're going to be talking to today is Jim Bowman. Jim, welcome. He is the CEO and the owner of Noble Tool here in Dayton, Ohio. Jim, thanks so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
And the specific career that we're going to talk about today is plant management. As I mentioned, Jim is the CEO and owner of Noble Tool, so we appreciate your time and your commitment to the manufacturing industry here in the Dayton region. Jim, we'll walk through a series of questions, so we want to get to know you a little bit better and get to know the career of plant management and really what it takes to be a plant manager within the manufacturing industry. So let's dive right in. And we'd like you to tell us a little bit about, tell us your company, your position, get into a little bit of detail on how long you've been working at Noble Tool, and then how long you've been in the industry, in the manufacturing industry.
Great. Yeah. So my name is Jim Bowman, of course, and my position as the CEO and owner, and actually from a day-to-day standpoint, our company is relatively small. I probably wear a hat of general manager or plant manager at times. I do have to get involved in the fiduciary aspect of running the company and owning the company. And that means like the 401k plan and health insurance benefits for our employees and all that. But on a day-to-day basis, I do get involved in kind of the plant management. So I'm glad to be able to talk to you a little bit about that. I've been with this company for, it'll be 3 years in June. I bought the company 3 years ago. I've been in the manufacturing industry, specifically machining area for about 30 years. Yeah, it's a really interesting time, and to be involved in manufacturing in these times, from everywhere from 3 years ago, COVID, to right through to, now with supply chain issues and things that we have challenges associated with that, but it's an interesting challenge.
Well, thank you for spending your time with us today, and thank you for sharing your 30 years of expertise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what specifically is the job of plant manager? Can you talk a little bit about that, and how important is that role in terms of Noble Tool's success?
So plant manager, first and foremost, their goal is to act as, I'm going to say customer service. When people say customer service, they often think about being on the phone and interacting from a sales perspective. But our products are needed by our customers. So we have to get the product to them in a timely fashion, good quality. And of course, we have to do it efficiently so that we can have that sustainability of profits that we can reinvest back into the company. So in plant management, to me, I think it's just really critical. We can have the sales come in from, if you look at it from a pipeline, from the incoming orders and how you process orders, and then buying materials, and then making sure that everything kind of comes together to be able to produce the product. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an outline about what are all those variables. You have to have the materials. You have to have the machines that are going to work on those materials. You have to have the tooling to, whether it's drilling or tapping the material. You have to have the skill set. So the operators, the machinists that are associated with that. You might have to have fixturing and how you're going to hold the part, and the programs. There's a lot of variables that come together to be able to make the part. So our plant manager is really in tune to all of those variables to try to keep those in alignment. So it's a challenging. It's a little bit like a Sudoku puzzle to make everything come together, but it is really critical to our company's success to make sure that the product flows through the shop and be able to get to our customer in a timely fashion.
So the picture in my mind is of a juggler, making sure that you're keeping all the balls in the air and focusing on all of them and to be the most efficient and most effective juggler.
Yeah, exactly. I think, maybe to kind of precursor the question, but a juggler is kind of an area, but you have certain inputs that you go with, and you look at different reports that we have. So a typical day would be to say, okay, attendance wise, who are all the operators that are in house, so that we can make sure that they're taking can work on the job that's needed for that time. First in, first out. So if a customer places an order 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago, how does that fit into the pipeline? So reports are a big thing. We meet every morning at 8 o'clock as a stand-up meeting, and we have purchasing, we have maintenance, we have sales, and plant manager in that meeting, so that everybody's on literally the same page, so that every morning we kind of know what our orders are, marching orders are for the day. So that is what typically starts out with the day. And our challenge is always to try to minimize the randomness of those variables, trying to keep attendance at a high level, trying to make sure that machines have the preventative maintenance, so that they're always ready to go when we do get an order. Making sure that the supply chain, our purchasing agent has a big challenge right now, and that's to make sure that materials are coming through and that our vendors are going to deliver the product at the point that they said we would, because that's in our plan. So we work through the planning process quite a bit.
Absolutely. It sounds like a busy day that starts with making sure that everybody understands the direction for the day. So from a plant manager perspective, what's the thing that you really love? I'm sure, as CEO, you've been in the plant manager position before. What is the thing that you most love about that job?
So I love it when a plan comes together, when you actually have an idea as to how things should be coming together, and then you have plan B in place, and that hopefully plan B, I love it when you don't have to activate plan B. That's rare, but when you have a plan in place and things kind of line up, that is, at the end of the day, you come away just saying, hey, success, we were able to accomplish our objectives for the day. Mission accomplished. That's one of the things that I love the most. But part of that, close second to that, is the biggest component. So the variables that I talked about before, with the machine, with the tooling, with the raw materials, but the people. So working with the people, working together as a team, collaboratively coming up with inputs to how we can accomplish our objective. So when, as a team, you accomplish the mission, that is really, I really love that the most. That's and to get to know the employees as they work through what are the different things that make them tick. Some are very analytical and some are people skills, but when you can take their roles and capabilities and skills, gifts, and abilities to come together to accomplish the mission, I love that.
Absolutely. It sounds like the plant manager has kind of a coaching role as well.
Great way to put it. Yeah.
So how many hours a day would you say are, from a plant manager perspective, are in meetings, working in groups, sort of collaborating with others?
Probably, I would say 20 to 30% of my day. Maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. That might be on the high side, but it is very, and sometimes they're impromptu. Even if you have a meeting that's in the hallway and you ask Charlie how it's going with his project, or you're out on the shop floor. I love walking around the shop floor. I love in the morning, from a plant manager, when I was first promoted to plant manager, and I came in the morning, and the lights are starting to come on, and all the operators are machines are starting to come on board, and you start hearing it's like a symphony coming together as the machines are all starting to wind up in the morning. And But I love walking around and talking to the employees. So those are meetings, but they're not literally at a whiteboard and working through a lot of paperwork. But 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe that you would spend working in groups or in meetings.
Awesome. Thank you. It sounds like it sounds like the mornings are the most exciting and the part that you really love about the day is getting everything started. So you talked a little bit about challenges already, but from a plant manager perspective, what's the biggest challenge with that job?
I think that when so you said a little bit about juggling. So if you have these different plates spinning and they're all like spinning and you're trying to keep on top of all of them so that nothing's wobbling or getting out of sequence, and that could be, it's the unforeseen things. Those are the biggest challenge. And how do you react to a sudden change that's anywhere in that sequence? You can have a great plan, but a Navy SEAL told me once, he said, you can have a great plan and everything's spent out specifically until the first shot is fired, and then everything is more reactionary. So that is a big challenge. And a lot of that, the biggest joy is often the biggest challenge. So the biggest joy is working with the people and what they feel good about and how they're going about their job and feeling of value. But they have personal, like there's a problem at home, or that they have a life crisis, or even life challenges that they enjoy, a vacation even. But it's the unforeseen, when somebody's sick, somebody's not there, and you got to backfill all the time. You can't predict some of those things. So those are being able to react to those unforeseen circumstances. That's a big challenge.
Absolutely. And having sometimes to deviate from the plan, and being able to do that quickly, it sounds like. So what is the work environment? If you've never been to a plant before, what is the work environment? What does it look like?
So in our plan, and most of the plants that I've been familiar with a couple of different companies, if you can, most of the plants they're air conditioned, they're a little bit higher bay ceilings, but there's equipment, and that's usually what is the big factor about a manufacturing facility, that it's some stuff is like hands-on, and but usually there's a level of equipment, and that equipment can try to the average person that hasn't been in a manufacturing facility, but punch presses, or you have a big piece of steel with, most people have like a hand drill press. They know that in their family garage, or their dad's got hobbies. They make things, and there's a drill press right there. Well, if you multiply that by 10 and it's much bigger, then it's automated equipment. The equipment is usually around the facility, and but it's not super noisy. And nowadays, from 3D printers to CNC equipment, it's very high tech. If somebody would walk up to a CNC machine and looked at the monitor, sure, it's a computer screen and it's got the rows of data and the code. And so if you like programming, like doing data control, that's really neat. And if you can envision the panel for an airplane, the cockpit, well, here you got this big CNC machine, and you've got the lights and the equipment there. I would love to fly a CNC machine. I've got my pilot's license, but I haven't programmed a CNC piece of equipment, but I feel like that would be really fun to do. But that's kind of it's the equipment that's around. It's important.
All right. I think we're working on your next career now, Jim.
Oh, that's plan B.
So are plant managers ever on call, or do you have specific time periods in which you work and that's when you're there?
So typically they're not necessarily on call, but if you run a 2-shift operation, which is good from a financial standpoint, because the equipment if you can get 2 shifts out of 1 calendar day, then you can pay off the equipment sooner. So if you have a 2-shift operation, sometimes that you might be on call, so to speak, if there was a problem on second shift. But usually you're going to have leadership, floor leadership that's staffing the shift, and that's your first line of defense. If you've got good foremen, supervisors that can answer most of those questions. It's only when it gets out of the realm of, I'll say, normal. If God forbid anybody got hurt or there was a fire or something extreme, but most of the time you're not going to be needed to be on call. But it depends on the plant manager if they like to be in the loop and they like to have more hands-on, but typically you're not.
Okay. Okay. Great. So here's the $1,000,000 question. What does it take? How do you get to the point from an education and experience perspective to be a plant manager?
So in manufacturing, the personnel that you're typically working for, it boils down to credibility. And if you're a plant manager that is maybe it's a smaller shop and you're more hands-on so that you can answer the questions associated with that piece of equipment or that type of material that is being run, I think experience is a big factor, because then you can keep things moving as if there is an issue associated with those problems or those things that might pop up. If you get into a bigger company, having some kind of a technical background or a formal degree to help build off of the experience. And sometimes the old phrase chicken or the egg, right? So if you've got a business undergrad or a engineering degree, that helps you with your problem solving skills and it helps you with your analytical skills. But you knowing the type of material or the process. But I would also say that all of us, any new job that you take, you're not going to be as experienced as you wish you were. So any job that you take, you could be the #1 NCAA college quarterback and you get drafted in the first round. Well, guess what? You are never an NFL pro quarterback yet. So you start that job and you start building experience, but you have some of the background that goes with it. Personally, I went to the University of Dayton and I had undergrad in engineering. And then I started building experience as a designer, and then I started working with the plant floor, building experience, and then I got promoted into plant management, and then I received my MBA after that with a concentration in operations, and that really helped me quickly learn a little bit about a lot of things. I kind of kid around about that. I'm very well suited to be in management because I know a little bit about a lot of things, maybe not a lot about anything, but a little bit about a lot of things. And that kind of gives me a broad perspective to help put some of the education together with the experience and hopefully be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So combination, it sounds like, of experience and education are critical for a plant manager.
Yep.
So when you're bringing a new person in to your to your department or into the plant, what is the typical education for a new candidate who's just coming in?
So usually, if you have a 2-year degree in manufacturing, that is very helpful. But even prior to that, to having some like what we call certification with a certified production technician. Some of these programs that DRMA helps work with Sinclair. Having that kind of a degree or a credential is very helpful to at least get started. And then building some of the soft skills to how do you become a manager? How do you talk to people? How do you look at the different variables that are involved in a process. And then as you kind of continue to grow, if you have a manufacturing engineering degree, love that. That is a type of degree that at a higher level, bigger company, it helps you understand the importance of tooling. It helps you understand the justification for a capital expenditure that the accounting people allow for the financing and things of that nature, that to really know what are the critical few components that'll make the biggest impact. So anywhere in that progression, and as a larger company with more people, I think having some of those more advanced degrees are very helpful.
Perfect. So it sounds like starting with some certifications, potentially getting some experience along the way through an apprenticeship or work-based learning, and then working towards a 2-year and potentially a 4-year for your pathway.
Right. And it depends on the, sorry, not to interrupt, Cassie, but depending upon what the individual finds most intriguing to them, that some really like the hands-on approach, and having again, a little bit of education to kind of give you the perspective, and then getting more hands-on to actually do it. I often equate it, if you allow me to use an analogy at just about anything, but I use the analogy that when I got my pilot's license, that they have ground school. You have to understand the rules and regulations associated with flying. And then once you have those, but you have to get in the plane, you have to actually fly it. So you have that, you can read about swimming, but you have to get in and actually do some of the stuff. So it's a good combination, but it gives you a jump start if you have some of that background with that certification.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to have hands-on at some point. So I know it's probably very difficult to identify one skill. Maybe it's a few skills, but what do you most value when you are hiring a new employee? What are you looking for in terms of a skill set?
I think it's being, people often talk about the soft skills, the people skills, but I think it's not only that, but being open to learning, being open to trying, and not worrying so much about failure. Being willing to talk to others, and my dad used to say, keep your head up and your eyes moving. Learn from others. Keep your, here I'm going on, but you learn more from listening than you do from talking. So these are some of the things that if you can take that openness. I also coach in the evenings. I coach a high school team, and having the ability for being coachable, being willing to learn, and applying what others have gone through, and it helps you move through faster. I mean, if that took them 20 years to get the experience, and they're trying to work with you, then it doesn't take you 20 years to get all that experience. You can learn that quicker, and you can advance faster. So I think being open, learning, listening, those soft skills.
Great. So what do you think, what would you tell a student who's interested in pursuing a career in manufacturing? What would you say to them?
Look around you and see what interests you around you. And if you see something, especially a device or a piece of equipment or anything, I mean, you look at your phone, and you say, how was that made? How did that thing that it looks that you use on a daily basis, how did that get produced? And if you're open to learning about that and figuring that out, then I think that will keep challenging you and keep feeding that fire, and you will build more understanding, and you have fun at it. And if you do that, then you'll keep progressing in your career. But to having some of that innate desire and passion to learn, from the old, how did they do that? How did they make that? And if you have that curiosity, that's going to help you in manufacturing. That's going to help you then learn to get better and continuous improvement, and then work your way into plant management.
Great. And it sounds like you may enjoy what you're doing, considering you've been in the field for about 30 years. So you've had that curiosity, and you've continued to build that over time. So when a guidance counselor or a teacher is talking to a student about manufacturing, what would you want them to say to that student?
Not to be cliche, but what are your hobbies? What are your passions? What are the things that you really are interested in? And if you're interested in having the math and the science is great. Doesn't mean that everybody has to become a doctor or an engineer, but if you do like the math and the science and how the world works from a technical standpoint, I would ask the counselor to talk to the kids about those kinds of things. What are the things that that they feel passionate about, and see if there is that little ember of understanding, of curiosity about the sciences and the things that will gear towards how things work and how things can go from a raw material to a finished product. That's, they talk a lot about STEM, but getting students prepared for college, which is fine. It's great. I mean, obviously I went to college and my son did, but I think that if you're really interested in how are things fabricated, put together, built, you can build on some of that math and the science to get to the point of accomplishing those kinds of things. And I think the students, once you get into that career and something gets finished, made, completed, it's really self-satisfying. I mean, it's such a great satisfaction of how, hey, we did this, we made this came to, this was complete.
So you go from wondering how something is made to saying, hey, look what I did, look what I made.
Did it, yep.
So building upon that passion. So we talked a little bit about career path. Can you, so you come into let's say you come into your company as a brand new employee, maybe with a certification or a 2-year degree. What could be the career path for that new employee?
So, yeah, I mean, it can go from being from any aspect of the manufacturing process. So as they start coming in and they start working on things, they might find themselves migrating towards a career in maintenance management, making sure that everything, all the lights stay on, all the equipment is running smoothly. If they like to fix things, then their career path could go that direction. They may start working in the supply chain in manufacturing and start saying, okay, so how do I build a good background of vendors and have them come through? Then in the production side or inventory, to making sure that we have the right things on the shelf at the right time for the right reasons. That's another career path. So there's a couple of different ones, but if we talk specifically with plant management, I think that if they can spend time in several different departments while they are working on taking any next advanced training. So if there's any other certifications or background to continue to get a wider perspective on things, that will help their career path towards plant management. And plant managers can do very well. We haven't talked money, but if you're a plant manager that is in a fairly good sized company and you put the effort into that, you can have, if you're first starting out, you might be in the $15 to $18 an hour range, but after, and you keep taking certifications, it's not uncommon to get a 10% increase, 8 to 10% increase as you go through there. There's a little math formula it's called the rule of 70s. If you get a 10% increase every year, in 7 years, you'll have doubled your wages. So if you start out in $15 to $18 an hour and you keep getting a 10% increase, in 7 years, you'll be making $36 an hour. That's $72,000 a year. But if you add on more background and you do the right things, meaning your good attitude, openness, interacting with people, you can take different roles. And then usually you'll get promoted every couple of years. You'll take on the next challenge and the next challenge. And then you could be in the high 80s to 6 figures, just depending upon the company that you work with and where you go.
Fantastic. And all based on desire and, gaining that experience and of course, performing well along the way. Well, Jim, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. Wonderful advice for teachers and counselors and students who may be thinking about the plant manager job for the future. Obviously it's not something that you step into right out of school, but we really appreciate your thoughts and sharing your experiences with us today. And we want to thank once again the Dayton Region Manufacturers Association and Ohio College Tech Prep for partnering with us on this webinar series. And we appreciate you again, Jim and Noble Tool, for being here with us today.
Glad to do it. And I'm passionate about the industry and manufacturing. I was a past chairman of DRMA, so anything I can do to help, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you.